Have you ever visited the cinema to watch a horror movie? If so, which ones?
No.
Do you enjoy watching horror movies? If so, why? E.g. The Play Theory, Fantasies of Power or psychoanalytical accounts?
I do, because the play theory, because I think it makes you quite excited when you're watching a scary movie and it makes you jump.
If you have seen any horror movies, which would you say are your favourite ones?
Women in Black, I'd say is my favourite.
Are you becoming kind of increasingly bored of conventional horror plots? And if so, kind of why is this?
Not really, because they're developing kind of newer stories now.
What type of subgenre of horror are you most interested in? So supernatural or thriller, psychological?
Thriller, that's it.
Would you be interested in a new hybrid genre? For example, the killer becomes the victim at the hands of those he's murdered.
Yes.
What is it about hybrid genre that would interest you the most?
I don't know, because it kind of switches the storyline. It's not typical of most horror movies now, I guess.
What type of characters, creatures would you both be interested in seeing? E.g. possessed children, ghosts, like werewolves, and why is that?
Probably possessed children, because they're quite scary.
What music/sound effects raise your level of anxiety when watching horror films the most? These can be screaming, heavy breathing, or orchestral music and loud bangs.
Loud bangs and screaming, I think, almost.
Do you like the idea of a conventional family being the target of a horror movie?
Yeah.
What do you think of children being used in horror movies, for or against?
For.
And does the use of children or children's toys, for example, China dolls, add an extra element of fear to the film you're watching?
Yeah.
Have you ever visited the cinema to watch a horror movie? If so, which ones?
Yes, I went to see Paranormal Activity 4.
Why do you enjoy watching horror movies? For example, The Play Theory, Fantasies of Power or psychoanalytical?
Oh, I really like the thrill and the adrenaline and the scare. I like the feeling of being scared.
What are your favourite horror movies, if any?
Probably Paranormal Activity would be my favourite one. And Jennifer's Body.
Are you becoming increasingly uninterested in conventional horror plots? Like, why is this?
No, I think that all of them are some of them they're jolty and they're really scary, like the jumpy ones are scary. I think that works every time.
What type of subgenre of horror are you most interested in? So like supernatural, psychological, thriller?
Probably thrillers, but the psychological one can be really creepy sometimes, doesn't it?
Would you be interested in a hybrid subgenre? For example, the killer becoming the victim at the hands of those he's murdered?
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. Yeah, I'd watch that.
What is it about a hybrid genre that would interest you?
Well, it would make it a bit more interesting. It'd be like watching two genres in one film. I think that'd be quite good.
What type of characters or creatures would you be interested in watching the most? For like possessed children or ghosts and why?
Well, I find like masks really scary, like having like people with their face covered, and they're possessed, and I find that really scary and freaky.
What music or sound effects raise your level of anxiety when watching horror films, like screaming or breathing or orchestral music?
Yeah, I find screaming really scary. I've got to be honest about that. When people are screaming, it makes me frightened. And the orchestral music can be quite creepy, I think.
Do you like the idea of a conventional family being targeted?
Yeah, that sounds good.
What do you think of children being used in horror? Are you for or against?
I think it has like a really good effect actually, because like it just makes it more real.
Does the use of children and children's toys like China dolls and things like that add an extra element of fear?
Yeah, China dolls freak me out like the maximum. I think they're horrible.
Visited the cinema to watch a horror movie? If so, which ones?
Yes, I have. Can I remember? Not recently, no. I have done that.
Why do you enjoy watching horror movies? Like The Play Theory for adrenaline and you enjoy being scared? Fantasies of Power or the psychoanalytical workout?
Psychoanalytical workout?
Psychoanalytical. It's well, the Play Theory is obviously to be the joy of being scared. The Fantasies of Power one is that's kind of the one that applies more to men. It's like if you see something happen in a horror movie, like quite often like a big violent fight, it's more kind of men who have had kind of dreams or thought about that kind of incident happening with themselves involved.
I like to avoid fights.
Okay, you're probably the play theory then, which
Right.
is more to be scared.
Yeah.
What are your favourite horror movies, if any?
Event Horizon is a good one. I saw. Let's see, the other day, it was on a few weeks ago, and it's the number 2 version's out in the cinema.
Insidious?
Yes. Yeah, it was Insidious. That was good. I like that. I don't tend to like the slasher horror type films. I find they're quite, I don't know, almost funny, comical because they're so poor. I like a bit like psychological type thing. Like the Saw movie, the original one, Saw, was quite good because it makes you think. You know, it's quite a intelligent film. That kind of stuff.
Are you becoming increasingly uninterested in conventional horror plots, and why is this?
In what, sorry?
Conventional horror plots, like the typical plots of horror.
Yeah, it's all much the same. Unless it's something intelligent, something with a twist, and you have to make you think a bit. That's why I like the Saw movies.
Would you be interested in a hybrid subgenre? For example, the killer becoming the victim.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, interesting twist.
What is it about a hybrid genre that would interest you?
It's different.
What types of characters or creatures would you be interested in watching the most, like possessed children's, ghosts, and what?
Possessed people, I suppose. Things that have potential to be almost true.
What music or sound effects raise your level of anxiety when watching horror films, like screaming, breathing, or orchestral music?
Music's definitely a factor. Sudden noise, of course, always shocks. I'd say there's only one over. It's a combination of all 3.
Do you like the idea of a conventional family being targeted?
Yeah, I suppose I do. Yeah.
What do you think of children being used in horror, for or against?
Depends how they're used. Depends who the audience is.
So say, for example, a child was a victim, and then instead of the killer getting away with it, the child then became the killer. Like, it's similar to things like The Orphan, where the child is presented as the kind of antagonist rather than the parent.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Does the use of children and children's toys, like China dolls, add an extra element of fear for you?
Yeah.
Have you ever visited the cinema to watch a horror movie? If so, which ones?
No, I don't think I do. I don't think I have been to the cinema to watch a horror movie.
Have you ever watched one on DVD or
Yes.
on telly?
Yes, lots. Blair Witch Project, Paranormal Activity, Soul, all those kinds of things.
Okay. And why do you watch horror movies?
No, adrenaline.
Okay. And what is your favourite horror movies, if any?
Probably something called The Changeling, which is quite an old one from about the 1970s, which is nothing graphic, and it's just about a ghost of an orphan boy, and it's really spooky. It's really scary. You should watch it.
Are you becoming increasingly uninterested in conventional horror plots? If so, why is this?
I like ones that are about kind of ghosts. I don't like horror movies which are about torture, porn type stuff, which is, well, that's what it's all about these days, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
pretty
people
much.
torturing each other. I'm more into kind of ones about ghosts and like The Woman in Black, that sort of thing.
Okay, so you prefer kind of the old-fashioned
The
style
old-fashioned
horror,
traditional,
like
as
Hammer
opposed to
horror.
the kind of graphic
Okay.
and kind of, you know, hostile type thing.
Okay. So, what type of subgenre are you most interested in? So, supernatural?
Yes, supernatural.
Okay. And would you be interested in a hybrid genre? For example, a combination of paranormal and thriller whereby the killer ends up becoming haunted by his ghosts of the people he's killed.
Yes, that sounds good.
What type of characters or creatures are you most interested in films? So things like possession, children, ghosts.
Yeah, ghosts. Ghosts more than anything.
What music or sound effects raise your level of anxiety when watching a horror movie? So these could be things like screaming, heavy breathing, orchestral music, loud bangs.
Orchestral music, all the way.
Do you like the idea of a
Silence, I think, is quite scary when it's just, you know.
Yeah.
I like when it's natural, it's better. If they add incidental music or there's too much going on, it takes away from it.
Okay. Do you like the idea of a conventional family being the main target of a horror film? So it's kind of a familiar
Yes.
area.
Depends if it's a ghost in a family, fine. If it's somebody torturing people, I don't really want children involved. I don't like anything that's about children being abducted, because I've got my own children, so I don't kind of intend.
So what do you think of the use of
Sorry.
children in horror then? For or against?
Yeah, I don't mind them being spooked. I just don't like them being kind of taken by bad people and experimented on.
Understandable, yeah. And does the use of children and children's toys, for example, things like China dolls or Chucky is a good example,
Yes.
add an element of fear?
Yes, because I think everybody has a secret kind of thing that when you were a child that you were quite scared of. You know, I even like that one looking at you or facing you. Yes, so that does add a ring of terror to it.
Have you ever visited the cinema to watch a horror movie?
Yes.
Which one?
A recent one, The Conjuring.
Why do you enjoy watching horror movies? Like The Play Theory, which is like the adrenaline rush and enjoying being scared, or Fantasies of Power, or psychoanalytical accounts?
So more kind of like the adrenaline rush, so like your heart pounds and stuff, and then
Yeah. What are your favourite horror movies, if any?
I like the Saw films classed as horror.
Yeah.
I like them just for kind of the cleverness of it, but I can't watch the gore of it.
Are you becoming increasingly uninterested in conventional horror plots, so like the typical
Yeah.
thing? Like the
It's
typical
getting a bit
thing
like silly, really.
Yeah. What type of subgenre of horror are you most interested in? Like supernatural, psychological, thriller?
Psychological horror.
Psychological. Would you be interested in a hybrid subgenre? Like, for example, the killer becoming the victim, that sort of idea?
Yeah, that would be interesting, like something different rather than kind of stereotypical, or you're going to jump right now, or pretty soon.
Yeah. What is it about hybrid genre that would particularly interest you, do you think?
Just so you're not going to expect what's going to happen next, I think. So I think that's probably one of the main problems with horror films. It's like expected, like you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Whether it's still going to make you jump, but you're not surprised.
Okay. What type of characters or creatures would you be interested in watching the most? Like possessed children or ghosts, or a particular creature like an alien or something?
More humans rather than it being like too out there with aliens or anything like that.
Yeah. So sort of like children or adults. Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. What music or sound effects raise your level of anxiety when watching horror films? So like screaming or breathing, like heavy breathing or orchestral music?
I think heavy breathing, or sometimes like the lack of music, so when it's completely silent, I think that sometimes gives you more suspense than like having an orchestral.
Yeah. Do you like the idea of a conventional family being targeted? So like a typical family, disrupted?
Familiarity,
Yeah.
like it's relatable.
Yeah, I suppose it would be more scary if it's kind of, it could be anybody type of thing, so who you normally associate with.
Yeah. What do you think of children being used in horror? Like, are you for or against?
I think it's a little bit sadistic, it's a bit twisted, so generally against.
Okay. And do you think the use of children and children's toys, like China dolls, add an extra element of fear?
Personally, no. I don't, like when something happens to a child in a horror film, I don't necessarily find it frightening.
Okay.
It's a bit kind of sickening.